What does geopolitics mean in the 21st century?
I think to a great extent, the idea of geopolitics has not changed in thousands or at least hundreds of years. I think the geopolitical order, the idea of countries advancing their power objectives through the means of natural resources, territorial order, and power relations is sort of a universal state of human existence. I don't think it will ever fully change. What has changed is the complexity of dynamics defining geopolitical interests in the current era. Communications, systemic thinking, advancement of technologies and automation. All of these processes have complicated expectations from life, from governments, accelerated processes, democratized self-expression, and facilitated populist movements on the grassroots level, but also shifted the way governments operate and have to react to domestic and external, as well as external pressures. So geopolitics is now complicated by additional factors that weren't necessarily the pressure points in the past, and therefore geopolitics themselves have more factors to put it simply, fight over. The resources are no longer defined merely by basic access to energy, but by the types of energies and by the critical elements and minerals that make that can create products and that also are dependent on sources of energy in turn, but can also be used to create viable sources of energy. Territories are no longer simply about conquest, but about a tension between rules-based order mired in the international law of the 20th century, and more traditional power-based imperatives and imperial instincts of hegemonic states. The idea of nation-states versus fragmented sectarian societies is also not new. Nation states are relatively new innovation of the 19th century paradigm. Prior to that, empires versus tribal societies and city-states were a more familiar framework, but in essence, the different models, hybrid models of statehood and tribalism and sectarianism are now once again repositioning themselves due to various pressures, due to power, internal and external power changes in different countries. We're seeing a social organization and reorganization of the world order, but not in any conspiratorial sense, but more like in a more traditional shift of some empires falling apart, other empires reconstituting, and nation states struggling to survive and redefine themselves in the context of new challenges, and tribal societies being forced to choose between continuing as failed states or non-state actors, or trying to eke out some new paradigm amongst other conflicting and neighboring interests. We're seeing a lot of changes, but those changes in themselves are nothing new in nature. They are essentially, every time I hear the word pivotal moment in history, I say on the one hand, yes, it's pivotal because there is dramatic shift in alliances, in borders, in territorial and resource-defined objectives. But on the other hand, is it really dramatically pivotal when nothing much is actually changing otherwise? Yes, the borders may change, the political shifts could be somewhat dramatic, but human nature is not shifting. The way humans relate to each other is not being completely redefined. The rise of AI may displace workers, but that's just another industrial revolution. It still doesn't change the human self-perception. So geopolitics in the 21st century is very much like the geopolitics in the 20th century. The players may have changed, but the music stays the same.